Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome back to yet another video. If you enjoy our videos, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and make sure that you turn the notifications on so whenever we upload a video, you get to know about it right away. Today we have an exciting and informative video for you. Although this topic is not very happy or a good topic, however, as you might know, tensions have been higher between India and China since June of this year, and they have only increased in the recent days. So with the tensions going higher and higher, we have a video for you where we will be comparing some military and army personnel of India and China and their capabilities. First, let's take a look at what these two military have to offer in terms of manpower, technology, training, and resources. Now, number one, soldiers. Soldiers are the bread and butter of any military. Much like in the Sino-Indian War, China has numerical superiority, though in India's defense, seeing as China is ranked as having the highest number of active military personnel in the world at 2,035,000. China's military has numerical superiority over literally everyone. With over 500,000 reserve personnel who could be easily called into action in a wartime scenario, China is a huge force. India, however, isn't all that far behind. With over 1,200,000 active personnel and an impressive 960,000 reserve personnel, this puts the differences between their totals in the mere hundred thousands. Now, India's active personnel are over 1,400,000. Second only to China's total active personnel, which means that India's reserve personnel are way ahead than China's. India has an astonishing 2,100,000 reserve personnel. Now, when it comes to Navy, the Indian Navy boasts around more than 67,000 active personnel and 55,000 reserves. The Indian Air Force has more than 140,000 active personnel and the exact same 140,000 reserves. However, in contrast to India having a 3-army system, the China Army consists of 5 branches, which are the Ground Force, Navy, Air Force, Rocket Force, and a force called the Strategic Assault Force. The Ground Force is the Chinese infantry and land-based operations with over 900,000 active personnel. The Chinese Navy has 240,000 active personnel. The Air Force has an even higher, more than 398,000 active personnel. Although the Chinese Army Rocket Force, this is the branch of the military in charge of land-based and nuclear missiles, they only have 100,000 active personnel. And finally, the Strategic Assault Force. This is the newest branch of the Chinese Army, established officially in 2015, dealing with extremely modern forms of warfare like space and cyber operations. This division is so new that we don't even have an exact number of active personnel. But due to the specialization of the job and the fact that the group is only 5 years old, it is safe to assume that it's likely the smallest branch of the Chinese Army. In this comparison, we have to consider this, that the fact that China and India are two of the most populous nations on earth, with populations of 1.393 billion and 1.353 billion respectively of both the countries as of 2018. So, if neither army would have an extreme numerical edge in the case of another conflict, let us zoom in and take a look at an average military service member in each infantry. We are going to look at the training, equipment and weaponry of both the countries and how their personnel face off with each other. Now, thankfully for India, they have grown to invest in more military intensive training over the years. India has been doing joint operations training with the British, US, Japanese, French and Australian militaries because of their involvement in the UN. The Indian military has also consistently invested in modern guns for their troops, and they have been investing more and more in their military capabilities. All these things add up to make one great individual soldier. However, on the other hand, Chinese soldiers don't have the quite same thing going for them. Modern Chinese military training has been criticized for years for its lack of useful applications in real-life combat scenarios, meaning the trainings that they give their soldiers are not applicable in the real world. However, when it comes to guns, they are far ahead than India. They have modern guns and some guns which they make in China, which are not available to the world. On the same hand, China is one of the world's most biggest and the best exporters of body armor. But it's very weird that they don't supply the same armor to their troops. So when you compare a normal Chinese soldier to an Indian soldier, you would see that in some scenarios they have same things, but ultimately Indian soldiers do come on the top. Since 2008, China and India have ranked second and third in global military spending. But the gap between them is still pretty huge. Last year, China spent an astonishing $261 billion on military development compared to India's far smaller $71.1 billion. This difference becomes a little more natural when you realize that China's economy is 5 times the size of India's. Now let's take a small look at how these numbers actually mean into vehicles for their armies, navies and air forces. While China has generally more hardware than India, one exception is in the world of tanks. India has over 4,200 tanks at over 1,000 units greater than China's 3,200 plus tanks. However, this doesn't tell you the whole story of China's ground abilities. When we look at armored ground vehicles, overall China's 33,000 vehicles make India's more than 8,000 vehicles look very small, meaning China has very good control over the ground units. Also, they have 10 times more rocket projectors than their Indian counterparts. China also holds dominance over the skies with 3,210 aircrafts compared to India's 2,123. So when it comes to sky battles, China has more capabilities than India. But then again, this all depends upon, in real life scenarios, if war breaks out, then it depends on the experience of the air forces and the experience of the soldiers. Now let's take a look at the sea or the naval assets. China outnumbers India by 777 to 285. China has 74 submarines to India's 16 and 36 big ship destroyers to India's 11. Now these were some breakdowns of both of the countries' numbers and how they would do if war does break out. However, this obviously does not give you the clear picture, because experience is a huge factor and strategy is also a huge factor when it comes to war. So we do hope that this does not happen ever, because war breaking out between two huge countries would be a huge problem for the entire world. But this was just a small breakdown of numbers, and for you to understand the whole scenario or the numbers that both countries have when it comes to military things: Air Force, Navy, ground forces. So what do you think about this? Should we do a breakdown of other countries as well? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much. Allah.